video, we are going to talk about Digital Public Infrastructure, or DPI. DPI is a term that you must have heard a lot in the news in the past year, especially around the G20 summit. So in this video, we are going to decode what it is and things related to it. Okay, so these are the six topics that we are going to cover. First of all, we are going to start with what DPI is and why do we need it. Then we'll move on to discuss a brief history of DPI and put the present things in context. Then we will discuss the three important pillars of DPI. After that, we'll discuss the digital public infrastructure in India. Lastly, we'll discuss the benefits and challenges. We'll use examples and we will discuss both these points in relation to DPI. Now, when in the news you hear about DPI, generally a lot of terms are just thrown at you. So India Stack, UPI, Aadhaar, DigiLocker. Now you may understand these terms individually, but they don't give you a picture, the holistic picture or an understanding of what digital public infrastructure is. So let's get to it in this video. The first thing, what? So to decode this, let us just look at each of the individual components of the term itself. So the first component is infrastructure. Now what is infrastructure? Infrastructure is basically an aggregate term, right? It's an aggregate term used for all the systems and services that make an economy or a society function, that enable a society or an economy to function. Okay. Now, it's basically, so this infrastructure term is derived from the French word infra, and infra means below. So infrastructure, you must infrared, for example. So all the colors that are all, below the red wavelength. So infrastructure then means that below a structure, below a physical structure. And what is below a structure? It's the foundation, right? So infrastructure can be thought of as the foundation of an economy, of the modern economy. So when you think of infrastructure, the first thing that comes to your mind are the roads, the railways, the transport system, right? But infrastructure is much more than that. So infrastructure, even the physical infrastructure that we are talking about right now, has everything. It has the transport system. It has the communication system, the energy system, electricity, the sewage system, all your pipes and toilets. It also has the legal system, the police, the jails. It also has the financial system, your banks and ATMs. It is also the educational systems, your schools and colleges, as well as the healthcare, your hospitals. So all these comprise infrastructure, all of these. So these help you move from one place to another, to commute, to work, to learn, to live a healthy life, to enjoy a lifestyle, right? A particular kind of lifestyle, to earn or to expand your trade. And it also helps you to do all of these things efficiently and also leads to inclusiveness, right? So when a road passes through a village that was hitherto, say, undeveloped or in a remote area, when a transport system and a road or railway line passes through that village, the economic growth in that village is almost certain. Okay. So overall, the infrastructure is helping in the overall development or overall growth of an economy. So these form the foundation. The second term in this DPI term, the whole full term, which is public. Now public, we know, public is basically anything that is owned by the government and open to use for the general public. And finally, the last term is digital. Okay, so digital, we know, is anything that uses the electronic technology. Anything that is not physical but electronic. Alright, so now when we combine the three terms, when we combine digital and public and infrastructure, the meaning becomes clear. The meaning is that DPI means public infrastructure for the digital world. It is the foundation of the digital economy. Now, the next question arises is why? Why do we need it? Now see, digital world, the digital realm has become a reality today. Now let's think about the beginning of the human civilization. So in the beginning, the humans lived separately in localized groups and tribes, right? Over time, trade and commerce increased. And so with it came the need or came the demand for roads and connectivity. So communication and transport infrastructure. Then over time, people's wealth increased, people's incomes increased. Then the demand for more public services, more amenities also arose. Then over time, modern nation states came up. Modern governments were set up. Okay, and then infrastructure, the physical infrastructure becomes an indispensable part of any economy. Any country or any region that lacks infrastructure is immediately, it's very highly likely that it will be underdeveloped. So similarly, we have now reached that stage for the digital world as well. And with the increasing pervasiveness, with the increasing with the improvement in technology that we have, more and more people are getting involved, more and more things can be done, right? And it requires, it demands an infrastructure in the digital realm as well. And that's why the entire ecosystem is very, very important. Okay. Now let's move to a brief history of the digital infrastructure. Now it's not that we are beginning from the scratch. It's not that whatever you're hearing these terms, these UPI, India Stack and Aadhaar, these are not the wheel of the transport system. These are not the beginning. So where it started was it started way back. The first digital public infrastructure, the first major good, right? Public good that you can call in this realm is the internet. Okay, internet is basically the global network of billions of computers and other electronic devices. So it is basically the system that allows the flow of information. So what flows in the digital world? Information flows, and internet is the network that facilitates that flow. Internet was first developed in the US in the 1970s, right? But now it is public owned. It is owned publicly, cooperatively, and in a self-sustaining manner. Okay, so then this is a public infrastructure in all the sense of the term. The second development in this DPI zone was the World Wide Web. The www that we have in front of any web address that we have, it's also called the web for short. Now, what is the web? What is the World Wide Web? World Wide Web is the information retrieval service of the internet. So it uses what are called hyperlinks. So I will not go into detail of what these terms essentially mean. Let me explain it to you via a simple diagram just to make things intuitively clear. So you can think of the world, right, is a network of, a lot of computers that, or there exist billions of computers and electronic devices all over the world. The internet is something that is connecting every one of them. So I'm just drawing these random lines. Of course, each of them are also connected. So you can think of every point being connected to every other point. Okay, something like this. So this is the internet. It is the entire collection of network. Now the World Wide Web is the information retrieval. So in hyperlinks, so what do you do when you search for anything on the internet? You type in some search words. The web will use the search words and will give you the points, right? The information sources which match those search words. Now this is a very simplistic explanation, but it will be enough for what we are trying to do over here. So the web will actually give you that, okay, these are the several results that I've found. So when you type on the your search words in the internet, you get a set of results. These set of results are giving you the addresses of all the points at which information matches your search results. So that is the web. Now web was also developed in it was developed in 1989 in Switzerland, and it was developed in the CERN, which is the European Center for Nuclear Research. And now, as it was developed then, but now again, this is something that is not owned by any particular entity, and it's a free service. So this is also public infrastructure. Okay, and the third DPI, the third major DPI is the browser. So browser is the software that actually, so now you have a list of information, list of points where you can find relevant information according to the search words that you typed. The browser is the software that brings that information to you, or it's the software that allows you to view the site or go to the site that has the information. Okay, so browser will help you do that. Now browser started with Mosaic. Over time, then there was Netscape, then there was Internet Explorer, then there was Firefox, and now the most common we have is Chrome, right? This is the default for many people, many of us. So again, if this is your internet and this is your web, then what is the browser doing? The browser is letting you actually go here and see it, or retrieve this information, connect you and this source of information. So that is what browser is doing. Okay, so now when you think about it in terms of, say, just to make it intuitively clear, if you think that the internet is the collection of roads and railways, everything that is physically connecting all the points, all the physical points, then the web is like a map, or it's like a library catalog. So you type in your search words and then you get information on all the places that might be relevant for you, that might have the information or the particular thing that you want. And then the browser is like the vehicle that takes you there. In this case, it just brings whatever you need to your own computer set. Okay, so then this is the basic DPI which already exists. So it's important to realize that this base is also digital public infrastructure. Okay, now what we have done is we have moved ahead from where we were in 1990s, right? So the pervasiveness of the digital goods and digital solutions have increased so much. More and more things can be done. The technology has improved a lot. More and more people are now involved in this digital realm. So think about it now. Not since yesterday or not since a couple of years. Payments were made digitally for a long time. So payments could now be made electronically. Records were being stored electronically. Even governments were storing their data electronically. So given this, with this basic DPI, with increased utility and increased applications and increased permeability of the digital goods, of course, more and more digital infrastructure is required. And this became even more, the demand or the requirement, the need for DPI became even more acute during the pandemic. So during the lockdown, the most vulnerable people were the poor people. These were the people who lost their income streams. Now governments all over the world were looking for ways to connect with these individuals and be able to transfer funds, financially support these individuals as soon as possible, right? Now many countries were able to do that effectively, and there were still other countries who made inclusion mistakes, exclusion mistakes. These led to delays. Now India was one such country which did very well. India actually, within weeks of the first lockdown, it was able to digitally transfer funds to over 300 million people, which is like 30 crore people. On the other hand, countries like Philippines or even Germany, these were countries that were struggling. Now Germany is a country, that it's not like it's digitally backward, but what it lacked was a good DPI. And a good DPI prevented it from using whatever digital products and digital solutions it had, from using it to its full potential. Okay, so a DPI, a fully functional DPI, is required now more so than ever. Now, having understood the brief history of DPIs, we've gotten to a stage where these are the base. Right? The internet, the web, and the browser, these are the base. Now we need to build up upon that. And then let's discuss, based on this, what are the three pillars of a digital public infrastructure. So pillars means that what are the foundational DPI, foundational digital public infrastructure that is required so that other things can be built upon them, and a fully flourishing DPI ecosystem can be built. So pillars of DPI. To understand the pillars, or to appreciate the pillars of DPI, let us reverse engineer and start from the requirements. Requirements what? Requirements that or the things that we would like an infrastructure to provide, so that some of the basic, so that things are more efficient, things are more equitable, and there is more inclusivity, so that it's better utilization of the resources. So what are the requirements? What are some of the things that we require from DPI for it to be, for things all around us to be better? And based on that, we will automatically then understand what the pillars are, what are the foundational DPI that there is. The first requirement, it is what is called interoperability. Interoperability. What interoperability means is that the same product is compatible with different platforms. So it's interoperable. When you move from one platform to another platform, you don't have to use a platform specific good. So to just make to make things clear using an example, let's start from an example from the physical world. So think about vehicle licenses. So suppose there are licenses that are issued by licenses are issued by every state of the country, every state of India. Now these licenses are interoperable. You can have a license issued to you from one state, and you can use this license. This license is still valid when you drive a vehicle in another state. The same may not be true across countries, but it is true within India. So these licenses are interoperable. Similarly, now the best example you can find in the digital zone is UPI. So the QR code that is used, that is interoperable. You may have any UPI app, you may have Paytm, you may have Google Pay, you may have Bheem UPI, but using the same QR code, you can do your transactions using any of these apps. So it's not like you will need a different QR code for Google Pay, you need a different QR code for Paytm. It used to be like that, but now it's not that anymore. So interoperability has now come up in this digital payment environment. Okay. Now, how this is helpful? Why do we want this? First of all, it is more efficient, right? It reduces duplicity of efforts, of time, right, in authenticating, in issuing, or in creating a digital product, right? And it also increases competitiveness in the market. So you can think of that if suppose you used Google Pay and you could only make transactions to and from Google Pay, and it was incompatible with other apps. Now, whichever company is able to get into the market and set up a large consumer base, that company will become a monopoly, right? Or at max, there may be two companies that can do this. And this will distort the market. On the other hand, if the QR code is interoperable, if there is interoperability in the market, then even small players can come in. They may have a small consumer base, but they will still be able to operate in the market because that QR code will be usable by everyone. So this interoperability is a desirable requirement from the DPI. The second desirable requirement is scalability. What is scalability? It means that if some solution has been applied at a small scale, at a local level, then it can easily be scaled up to a larger geographical area or a larger population, or both. So, for example, if some payment system or some authentication system is working at a local level, say in a village or a district or in a state, it can easily be scaled up across the entire country. Or if it works at a country level, it can be scaled up across countries. So, for example, if some money transfer works at a local level, then using the existing setup, using the existing infrastructure, even large-scale money transfers can be made where a lot of people are involved. For example, during the financial help that the government provided during the pandemic. Okay. And the third requirement, so again, scalability also reduces duplicity of efforts. Okay. The third requirement that we want from the DPI is what is called inclusivity, right? And access for all. So it simply means that whatever products are available, whatever the blueprints of those products are, they are what is called open source. So in the digital language, open source means whatever digital products, their code and their standards and their any other working requirement, these are openly available. That means anyone who wants to use it, who wants to build upon it, they can use the existing system. Mind you, this doesn't mean that the data is open source. The data that is stored, that is not open source. But for example, the blueprint of the building is open source. It is accessible for all. But of course, the residents are not open source. So similarly, the code and the standards, they are open source. They are accessible by everyone. So why we want this is simple, because we want even small players, we want the market base to be large. We want that even small players are able to get access to the technology, right? It shouldn't be like only the resourceful or only the big corporations are having access to it. Secondly, it also precludes the need to reinvent the wheel, right? So if someone doesn't have the technology, then they will have to start from the scratch. We don't want that, right? We don't want that. If a local, say, payment system worked at a local level, we just want that we can use that technology and scale it up. So this open source and access for all will also aid in scalability, and it will also aid in interoperability when these codes and these standards, these blueprints will be open source. So of course, these are also feeding into each other and helping increase the efficiency of each of these requirements. Okay, so now, given these three requirements or these three basic needs that we have from any digital public infrastructure, we to fulfill these three requirements, we have three pillars of DPI. The first is digital identification. The second is real-time digital payment system or payment. And the third is data sharing solutions. Now let us understand each of these pillars using the particular example of the DPI that exists in India.